Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our presentation today. We will be spending the next half hour or so going over social media lead generation. Our presentation today will discuss tips on how to expand your lead generation for B2B and B2C through social media platforms. We will also go over understanding best practices for each platform and why this is important for expanding your reach. It is important to note that growing a social media following can take time. There are often ways of buying followers or paying for someone to grow your following, but the reach here may not be organic. And this may contribute to why you're not seeing the results you want in the leads through social media. It is often not the quantity of leads that will assist small businesses, but the quality of those connections. Our agenda will go through social media platform expectations, lead generation guidelines and recommendations. After the presentation, there'll be time for a discussion and Q&As through the chat feature that's located on your Zoom panel. I think it's important to point out before I get started that if your agenda for today and this webinar was to learn how to gain a large number of followers, then this presentation may not be for you. The end goal of this webinar is for you to understand how to utilize social media to benefit your B2B and B2C in the way you want it to. I don't think that it'll come as a surprise, and it likely is blatantly obvious that if you stop and look around while you're in a coffee shop or grabbing lunch, you'll notice smartphones in 90% of everyone's hands. Have you ever peeked over and looked at the person standing next to you and what they're viewing? I know it may sound creepy and a little intrusive, but it is highly likely that it's a social media platform. The average person in 2019 spent nearly 2.5 hours a day on social media. I think of it as, well, that's 17.5 hours a week, and that's essentially a part-time job. So I ask you to think to yourself, are you currently utilizing social media to market your business? And are you doing it effectively? I think it's important knowledge to know that humans devote between 30 and 40% of all speech talking about themselves. And online, this number jumps to about 80%, especially about social media and posts. You may be thinking to yourself, well, why? Working remotely, I know it is easier to have the courage to express your opinion virtually. It's no surprise that social media interaction is overcoming face-to-face interactions. So you may be thinking, well, why is this important to me as a business owner? Well, because social media engagement builds customer brand relationships, strengthens brand loyalty, and social media word of mouth advocacy. In order to understand how to navigate this tool, you have to understand its foundation and why it's growing in such a way that we are becoming reliant on it. So, are you using this tool to interact with your customers and take advantage of it? The answer is likely no. According to a recent article by Social Media Today, more than 45% of responders in the survey indicated that they don't think their current marketing efforts are aligned with optimal lead generation practices. And a further 23% weren't even sure. If we think about this, that's roughly 70% of responders in a survey don't think or are not sure if they're aligned with optimal lead generation practices in general, let alone in the area of social media and how it can be helping them. Before we move on to the specifics of social media, let's discuss some social media lead generation tactics as a whole. I want you to think about your current lead gen process. What outlets, sources, and strategies are you using? And how are you incorporating social media into this process? Let's talk about this in 5 phases. The first phase being the content phase. Hacking, buying followers, and going viral with your content isn't going to cut it anymore. What audiences really crave is responsive conversation and interaction that they will know will make a difference. Your goal shouldn't be to get as many leads as possible, but instead to get the highest quality leads and eventually propel them down the path to becoming a customer. The biggest key to social media engagement is to build long-term, meaningful relationships with your audience. And developing this right kind of content can be difficult. No one said it was easy or that it's something that happens overnight. Start by researching your target market. What are they interested in? What is going to draw them in and be relatable? Remember, back a few slides when I discussed humans want to talk about themselves. Your content needs to be targeted towards your audience and what they have to say about themselves. Create a strategy for developing content. Don't let your content go stale. This will keep you in a big rut. Understand your audience's social media behaviors. What works best? Do research. Use platforms that resonate with your audience the most. The visual phase. 93% of all communication is visual, and our brain processes 60,000 times faster than reading text. By looking at recent trends and noticing the popularity of visual-centric platforms like Snapchat, Instagram, and Pinterest, I think it's safe to confidently say the next wave of content marketing is visual content. Incorporating the right images into your posts is important. Research has shown that adding visuals to Facebook posts results in 2.3 times the larger engagement rate, while tweets with images can generate over 150% more retweets in comparison to just text only. There are fabulous free sites available now for images and graphics if you're working on a budget. Unsplash and Pexels are great sites if you're looking for a more modern stock photo. These sites also allow you to give credit to the photographer. I very much recommend doing so as it only increases your reach. If your reaction to these statistics and phase is to just publish more images, then you're missing the point. Know how your brand should look and behave on social media. Never lose sight of your audience. The promotional phase. You need to attract the right people to your content. But how do you even find them? And even if you do find them, how do you convince them to give you your email so you can add them to your different marketing campaigns? Well, when it comes to lead generation, a landing page is essential and should be designed thoughtfully. So you'll need to start by creating a landing page. You'll then need to drive the traffic to that landing page. But you may say, well, Nicole, why a landing page? The answer is short. It's because landing pages significantly improve your conversion rates. The reason that a specific landing page is focused on a single objective while directly matches the promotion or ad that your visitors click to reach you on. If you compare this to sending it to a homepage, you'll notice that your homepage is designed to give a general purpose in mind. It highlights your overall brand, services, and messages. It's typically filled with links to other specific pages on your site. But your landing page should be built for targeted audiences and that targeted ad or those targeted customers that you're looking to reach out to. You'll need to link your landing page to every post campaign that's specific to your message. Your platforms on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest. Contents and limited time offers are always great ways to attract more people to your lead page. Now, the nurturing phase. Lead nurturing refers to the process of developing a relationship with your potential customers at every stage of their journey with your product or service. In this stage, you want to enlighten your leads about how product and services will empower them and essentially you and your business. This doesn't mean bombarding them with emails about your product and features and the benefits of upgrading. Respond quickly and consistently to as many comments as possible, and never use cut and paste responses. Standard answers are acceptable, but for private messages, they don't look flattering when plastering them on public comments. It's tough to point at one magic reason why lead generation projects fail, but it's usually because one or more of the mistakes are being made. You're using the wrong strategy. You don't understand your target audience. Your content may be lacking. Your landing page isn't that great, and you're not doing enough follow-through. Identify the platform that is most appropriate for your business by identifying where your audience is. Be specific of who you're targeting. To do so effectively, you have to gain the trust of your leads and provide them with as much upfront value as you can. Educate them. The best rule of thumb is to consistently create, curate, and share quality content for your target audience. You want them to be relating and engaging with you. Remember to provide them with value. Solve a real problem that they face. Offer content that is immediately accessible to them. If your content strategy is being developed is overly reliant on brand strategy versus the target customer needs, your content will likely sit on platforms and be unshared without reshares, retweets, etc. The last phase, sometimes the most difficult, is the strategy phase. It involves time, adaptation, listening, recognition, and knowing that platforms are constantly changing. It's very important to know fundamentals to each platform, such as ideal posting times, hashtag, audience, trends, etc. For example, posting schedules. While each platform has its own best posting time, in general, across all platforms, the best time to post on social media is between 9 and 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Early in the work week, usually Monday through Wednesday, regardless if it's B2B or B2C. It's important to do your research here, as every industry and every service are different. I would not rely on the general posting schedules or general posting times. Some questions you should be asking yourself when conducting this strategy phase is, how old is your target audience? Where do they live? What's their commute like? What do they do for work? What are the challenges and pain points? What social networks do they use? Do they scroll through their feeds on the phone or on the computer? There seems to be a large gap with generations and understanding current trends and how social advertising works. Foundationally, understanding where your audience lives in the social media realm is going to be imperative. You need to know how to explicitly target your followers and where they will be over the adaptations of these realms. Social media is going to be an infinite resource. We want to go through a quick strategic example with you. Are you looking at your competitors' social media? Are you even doing competitive analysis? The answer should be yes, and you should be able to ask yourself when you do this analysis, are your competitors getting a high amount of likes, shares, retweets, reactions, and comments? If so, I suggest testing the competitors' posting times as well as an opposing schedule. Take note if you get more engagement at noon on weekdays, or if you see a boost in your posts on weekends, when your competitors may be quiet. The question here is whether you should follow suit or zig when they zag. Don't get complacent. Find the times that work best for you, but never stop testing. Audience habits and network algorithms are all going to change. I think it's important for a lot of people to hear that the sophisticated audience knows when they're being scammed or baited into something, not just on social media, but for all advertising as well. 66% of audiences feel deceived when they realize they've been baited into reading a paid or sponsored content. I know, I can tell. The authenticity of your content on social media is going to be very easy to spot. The average person can spot it within minutes if they're trying to be sold or promoted with different ads and content. You need to be genuine and relatable. Connecting with your audience is going to make a big difference, and it's going to be the biggest building block of your strategy. Social media is not just a spoke on the wheel of marketing. It's becoming the way entire bicycles are built. I thought this was a really important quote to hear by author Ryan Lilly, as it resonated with me in how to conduct social media marketing and incorporate it with your overall marketing. I want to talk a little bit now about some of the larger social media platforms and its algorithms. Now, you may be saying, Nicole, what's an algorithm and how is it used in social media? I know this term gets thrown around a lot, so I'll go over what an algorithm is. Well, it's a process or set of rules to be followed in calculations or other problem-solving operations, especially by a computer. Now, you may be saying, I'm no math whiz, so what does that really mean? Well, in social media, they're used to sort posts in users' feed based on relevancy instead of published time. This is why you often don't see posts from all your network and just a select few. It's important to understand each platform and utilize it to its fullest for this reason. Connecting with different people will ensure that you're engaged with your entire network and not just a select few. A lot of people get frustrated when they're seeing the same posts from the same people. It means that you are not engaging with your entire network. This will take time, and it's something that you have to know, is this important to me? I want to go through a few examples of individual platforms. I'll start with Twitter. You need to do your research. Check and see what hashtags people are already using when talking about you and your brand and try and capitalize on those. Also make sure to check if your desired hashtag is already being used. So ask yourself, is it still relevant to your brand? Give people a reason to use your hashtag. Whether it's an actual prize or recognition in the form of a retweet, your audience will respond better when it's mutually benefiting the relationship. Twitter responds best with 1 or 2 hashtags due to their algorithm. Checking your trends here is going to be important. Character count matters with Twitter. Twitter offers an analytics dashboard, and I suggest utilizing it to your advantage as well. This will indicate if your tweets are performing better. Are they performing worse? What do you need to change? Where should you be looking? What is your audience attracted to? Let's talk about Instagram, which is similar but very different from Twitter. It's hands down becoming one of the most popular social media networks, if it's not already. There's so much available attention to capture, which is why building a large following is often a priority with brands or individuals. You do, however, need to post at least once a day. You can't grow or expect your audience to grow or your interactions and lead generations to grow if you're only posting once a week, here or there, when you have time. If you do gain followers, your followers are going to expect your content to be there and be delivered consistently. But you need to connect with them. With Instagram's new algorithm, hashtags are becoming very valuable. You need to make sure that your research is relevant and that your trending hashtags are for your target audience. The most popular ones, if too vague, can get pushed to the side within seconds. Remember, now with their new algorithm, you only get 30 hashtags per Instagram post. Unlike Twitter, where the fewer the hashtags, the better, Instagram, I suggest using all 30. You can also geotag your photos, which will allow people to see your posts by location. Not only should your content be relatable but interesting, it should also be aesthetically pleasing and shareable. Instagram is all about the visual. You should tag larger relevant accounts and connect with different people. Let's talk about LinkedIn. It is currently in an extremely optimal position for companies to utilize B2B connections here. You can see by the statistics I have here, LinkedIn is currently the most effective for networking and connections. If you need to start somewhere, just try. Join a networking group or find groups on LinkedIn that fit you. Connect with key business owners and people you want to network with. Today, many marketers, business owners, service providers, and entrepreneurs are making the same mistake by ignoring LinkedIn. Just like the early days of Facebook advertising, when clicks cost less than a penny, you could get 100 leads in an hour very easily. You don't want to get caught in the herd of stampeding people to LinkedIn within the next few years. You want to solidify your position now and beat everyone else who comes after you. I did a test run on LinkedIn a few months ago. I was recently invited to attend a seminar in New York City, and I couldn't go. I did, though, want to connect with the speakers who are CEOs and COOs of Fortune 500 companies. I tried and I reached out to all 5 of them on LinkedIn. All 5 of them are now connected with me, and 3 of them we have messaged back and forth. I think it's really important to test out these different platforms. It can't hurt to try and make genuine connections. These other platforms that are on the statistics are effective, typically dependent on your target audience and service and product that your business offers. Although not on the topic of our presentation today, I want to point out that you should be wary about getting caught into cons and scams with Facebook ads and advertising. You may, from my previous statements, say you want to choose an advertising tool. Choosing your advertising tools on a platform should be handled by a professional and should be used by someone who has educated themselves how to work the back end of these ads. It can be easy to pour money into these platforms and these ads if you're not sure what you're doing. Often, even if a company does not have a significant number of followers, this does not mean that they should not keep up with their social media. Many customers may follow your account. They may not follow your account, but look at it when making a purchase. It's important that they see up-to-date images, content, and activity. I know I do it when I look to go buy something offline. I will most certainly look at their social media. If I'm not sure, I see bad reviews, I see no comments, I'll likely pass it up and go to one of their competitors. Brands that can create inspirational ways for our community to connect and interact with them will not only create social media opportunities, but also a chance to move beyond this into something that's long-lasting. We can also create a reciprocity effect. We feel obligated to give back to people who have given to us, even in a small way. We always feel the need to even the scales. When you see reciprocity on Instagram, you feel compelled to tag or direct message someone that has sent one to you. Anytime you receive a like on your profile, you'll probably feel the little pull to reciprocate that in some way, whether it's by sharing something in return, signing up for an email list, etc. I think this is an important effect to truly understand. A survey of more than 7,000 consumers found that 23% said they feel they have a relationship with the brand. Of those who did, only 13% cited frequent interactions with the brand as a reason for having a relationship. Consumers said shared values were a much bigger driver for the relationship than lots of interactions with the brand. It's important to not only rely on social media for your lead generation. It should, for most, be only a stepping stone of a way to connect with your community. Now, you may have said, Nicole, you've said this over and over again. Social media is about building relationships. So follow the same principles as any other social relationship. Be a good listener. Be authentic. Be consistent. But you need to shake things up every once in a while. And remember, it's not just about you and your needs. In exchange, you'll get a better understanding of your customer base, which will help you build better products or better services, both key components in future-proofing your business. Now, you may or may not find this data shocking, but I think it's important to be well-rounded and connect with your audience on all fronts. In-person events still is the top marketing tactic for both B2B and B2C. It's likely because human social interaction is the #1 lead generation driver and sale closer. Webinars is a close second, as well as newsletters and blogs. I have a feeling that over the next several years, these numbers will begin to change, likely pulling social media into one of the top competitors as it begins to evolve even further. Make sure you're starting now with developing a solid foundation, as you already may feel like you're behind. Like most relationships, it takes time, so don't be disheartened when your engagement rates don't immediately jump overnight. But if they do, find a way that audience responded. Tuck that in and save it for a rainy day. Most importantly, social media is a continually evolving landscape, so be ready to adapt your strategy at any time. If you're not connecting with your followers or your community, it is highly likely they will not see your content. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you found this webinar insightful and eye-opening. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I will open up the question portion of your chat. So Teresa messaged and asked, I sell unique clothing online. Is there a specific platform that you feel I should use over others? This is a great question, Teresa, but one that has a lot of follow-up. The first step, I think, is to look at your customer base. Where are you going to find them on social media? If they're millennials with a clothing company, you'll likely find them on Instagram and Pinterest when looking for different clothing trends. You will not likely find them on LinkedIn, as LinkedIn is more B2B and should be used if you're trying to network with other clothing lines or people to promote your clothing line. That would be where LinkedIn is going to help you. But for consumers, it should revolve around your target audience and where you're going to find them. That was a great question. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions that I can answer for you? Mike. Thank you, Mike. I'm in the habit of buying followers and mass email blasts linking back to my social media accounts. Excuse me. Is this something you would recommend? Well, Mike, I'm really glad you asked this question because I think a lot of people or a lot of businesses do this at the moment. It's very important to understand the platforms that you're working with. When you do buy followers or you do mass email blasts to your followers, this often is breaking terms and conditions, rules, regulations that your account is put under. You can easily get your account stripped from you. I do not recommend ever buying followers, spamming, even though you may not think it's spamming, or following a large number of people at one time. This will trigger algorithms to flag your account, often blocking your account and deactivating. 90% of the time, these accounts are not recoverable, especially for a platform like LinkedIn that requires your name, email, detailed information, and they try to verify that it's you as most as possible. It's likely that you'll not be able to recover your account. I often have people come to me when it's too late, that are asking for my assistance in recovering their social networks when they have thought that they knew what to do on themselves, or they relied on a company to buy them followers and enhance, and it just didn't work out. It's most of the time the damage is already done, and you have to try and start from scratch if the platforms will allow you. It's very important to follow guidelines and be authentic and not to spam. I know that it's really hard because there are a lot of enticing companies. There are a lot of enticing ads that you may see to purchase ads, purchase followers. You've heard this works or that works. But it is really important, especially if you're you shouldn't be, but if you're relying a lot on social media for your leads, it is really important to maintain the rules and regulations that come with each platform. So make sure to do your research. This was a great question, Mike. Thank you so much for bringing it up. I think it really resonates with a lot of people. Are there any other questions that I can answer for you? Well, thank you very much for joining our webinar today. I hope you found it insightful, and I look forward to seeing and hearing your questions on our next webinar. Have a great week.